Thursdays and Fridays? Thursdays and Fridays?
Yeah.
I can't do Wednesdays. I can't do Wednesdays. Oh. 9th and 16th. Right off the bat, because I'm babysitting. Yes. Educational credits.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll look at the rest of them and see. Are they ready?
August meeting together at the South Redford School Board at Thurston High School on Monday, September 9th at 6:34. Will all please stand for the pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, please call roll.
I'm honored to do that. Thomas Dowdy, Misha Early,
Present.
Cheryl Fletcher,
Present.
Shirley Tolliver,
Present.
Lori Hicks,
Present.
Steve Baker present, and Nicole Kingis.
Next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? There being none, the agenda stands as written. Next item on our agenda is recognition of people and programs. Mr. Galdes.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess first off, the recognition is to all of the people involved, including yourselves, in creating the space that we're in today. Certainly, I think we started talking about the space 6 or 7 years ago, and we knew we needed to do something. But we wanted to do it in a very responsible way, and so this board led us in looking at the funds that we had, certainly with the sinking fund, passage of the sinking fund, and and identifying some of that money for this project, as well as supporting us in using the money in the food service fund to supplement that and be able to create the space. Without those two things, this would have never happened unless we went to the voters and asked for money from the voters to do it. So we didn't do that. We built this with the operating funds that we had. And so I'm very proud of that. And it really took a lot of people to come together. There was lots of issues in terms of the footprint of the building and how do you add space with the confinement that we had in terms of we're in the middle of a neighborhood. And we had three goals, as you well know, but we wanted to shorten lines. We wanted to create a space where kids wanted to come and didn't have to come. And certainly we wanted to make sure all kids stayed on campus. And so this meets our needs. I'm pleased to have you here today and enjoying this space. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rudy to have him talk a little bit about this space and maybe a few other comments on the start of the school years. Mr. Rudy, I think you're here.
I'm here. Yes, I moved. So it's great to have you all here. We're very excited and thrilled to be in our new cafeteria, food court, cafe. We're still working on the name because it feels a little nicer than a cafeteria. But students are really thrilled with it. I'm happy to report we've done a lot of just walking around, informal straw polling in the last few days. Things that students are saying are things like, I feel rich, is one thing that I've heard several times. They feel like, one young lady who's one of our class officers for the senior class said, I feel like I've left school when I come in here, which I think is it carries a lot of weight in that statement, right? The mental break she referenced in being able to come in here and it just feel, I don't know, like a relief, like a calming factor, which is, we had a lot of discussions as the construction was happening that we believed that students might feel that way. So kids are really just giving great feedback about it. They can't be more thrilled. Their behavior in here has been great. They're cleaning up after themselves far better than they have in the past. I think just the pride and the respect that they feel that this space is communicating to them without, directly saying, we respect you as students, right? We're not necessarily saying that, but we are saying that through the actions of yourselves, the community, and coming together to provide a space for students that really, lifts them up and makes them feel proud of their school and makes them feel proud of our community. I know that I'm extremely proud of it. I'm humbled to be entrusted with making sure that it stays as top flight as it is right now. We're 5 days in, so think kind thoughts for us about all it takes to keep it this way. But we couldn't be happier, and we're just excited about this and all the other things that are happening in positive ways here at our students. Yes, sir.
Did I hear you say that it is going to be renamed? Or not?
No, I'm just kind of toying with that a little bit. I mean, maybe, I don't know, cafeteria. Do you feel like you're in a cafeteria right now?
I don't have a negative connotation with cafeteria. It's a ubiquitous name for me. So
Yeah,
that doesn't bother me.
we're playing with it. We're kind of playing with it. Talk with kids. Like, what do you want to refer to it as? I think it's good to let them have a voice and some agency in that. I don't really have a negative connotation with it either, Reverend Baker. But I don't know. I feel like it's an opportunity to re-examine what we've always done in a way that will be more reflective of what students want to think of this as. If that's a good way to play the middle there.
We could name it the Hawk Nest.
We could. Yeah. Well, you may have noticed too, those of you who've been around a long time, the Eagle Pride sign used to be there on the wall that doesn't exist anymore, and there was a standing eagle wearing like a leather vest.
Right.
He's coming back. Okay, he's not gone, but he is currently. He's getting kind of a facial, maybe you might think of it as. Back with our new art teacher, Miss Doty, and her independent study students. He needed a little work. It's been a little while, so he's getting a little touch up.
Funny.
But he'll be back, and he'll be going kind of right around the corner over there. There's a great wall. I'm sure you'll get to see him a little bit. But he'll be coming back. So.
How about noise level? Is it comparable? Is it
Far
less?
quieter.
Good.
Please come back when the students are here. I don't know anything about interior design or acoustic engineering, but clearly those who do have done something well here.
Good.
Because there's not any fewer students, and in fact, if anything, it feels somewhat like this is a little lower, but apparently it's doing the job. But it's considerably quieter, and the kids aren't being quieter. It feels quieter.
I know when we've been here in the past, it always seemed like an echo, and I'm not noticing that.
Yeah.
Well, these are sound panels.
Yeah, they're sound dampening clouds, I believe they refer to them as in the business. So it's good. It's all good. I think at first a lot of the kids thought the colors were a little like green, orange, but I don't know. It's got this calming feel to it. It just kind of really makes you feel like you're in an inviting space, and that really is what students are communicating and what we're all feeling.
So we can experience it at open house as we serve food, right?
You can. That's the plan. Open house is
Call to action.
Open
for the
house is
weekend.
next week. Mrs. Harris has already sent out the reveille to get you all back in.
So we can see how it works then, right?
Yep.
Firsthand?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. All of our clubs and a lot of community organizations are going to be in here with you guys as we're serving food and welcoming everybody in. And certainly that goes for anybody who's here with or without kids. It's open house because it's open. So come on.
Is that an evening or day?
Yeah, I believe it gets going at 5:30 next Thursday evening. I think.
5:30 to 7:30 or something, she said?
We're on my way to Florida.
Other thoughts?
It's pretty good.
We'll come back when kids are eating.
You'll see a lot.
Yeah, come on in. Come on in. I'm sure Karen would love to have you. We'll make you up something special. And come back when students are eating and see kind of how they're enjoying it. So it's great to see.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We certainly had some partners in this, and Chartwell's and Karen Cumming has been along for this ride since day one, and we really could not have done this without her. You know, the whole design of the food servery and the flow of students. She was in this as deep as we were, and of course she probably has the most stake in this game, right, in terms of what she does every day. So I really do want to thank you, Karen, for all those long meetings and all the brainstorming. At one point, this is going to be a double-decker cafeteria. I mean, we had all kinds of crazy ideas, and Karen had to keep talking us back to our senses. So thank you for that. She kept us grounded. And also TMP, our architects, and Bart Mallow. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, from the shape of the tables to the shape of the stools, really into the color. There is a whole research field on color, and there is calming effects to different colors and all those kinds of things. So TMP really did a nice job of that, and Bart Mallow did a great job in terms of the fact that, remember, we only had a short amount of time to do this in the summer because we served kids on the last day of school and we served kids on the first day of school.
Right.
And so every day meant something. And Bart Mallow kept us on track, kept us under budget, and so great partners. And as you're, unless you have other questions about the cafeteria itself, I would flow into the next thing.
Just two quick comments. It was fun to, since we live right across the freeway, we walked this property a lot, and it was fun to watch that progression throughout the summer and see the work. And I'm going to echo a comment that you made previously, Brian, about Karen, that she's not our employee, but she has served us well. And so thank you, Karen, on behalf of the board.
So even the board reminds me of that.
Are you moving into communications?
Yeah.
Well,
That's all kind of together.
because the next thing on mine is recess.
Okay, let's talk about
And
this
tour.
first. Yeah. So so imagine this space, and then remember what the space looked like,
Yeah.
right? And so we're going to be talking a lot about students and where students need to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Really we're moving in. You're going to hear a lot of talk about moving into, well, we're not moving into, we're currently in the fourth industrial revolution. But what does that mean? It means something very different for our graduates than it meant for us when we graduated. And it's our role to prepare them for their world, right? Not our world. And so, so we need to imagine what the educational spaces need to look like. You know, we did that for this space, right? And so, you know, when I walked into cafeterias of other schools for being there for other events, or other high schools, I saw what they had in terms of their facility for food service. Why not our students? Why don't our kids? Why does our cafeteria have to be 1953-ish? You know, and so and that's when we started talking about all this. So as we think about the fourth industrial revolution, as we think about the future for our students, we need to think about that in terms of our instructional spaces. And so I'd like everyone in the room to think about what our instructional spaces need to look like. You know, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 4 years from now. And think about what Thurston High School looked like, what Fisher Elementary School will look like, what Adams, Jefferson, Vandenberg, Pierce, what all those buildings will look like, or should look like. Yeah, you remember what this space looked like before, what it looks like now. And you know, I would like to say that we need to be thinking about our instructional spaces and making change. And so, so we'll do a tour and we'll look at the rest of the building. But I'd like to take the board, any board members that would like to go along as well as a team, to go look at some other spaces. Some spaces that I think are looking at what the kids need in the future. There's some, I think, some forward-looking spaces, and I think we would go along with TMP and Bart Mallow and start looking at some spaces, and so the board can think about you know, what can we do in the future to better serve our kids? And so, Madam President, I'd like you to think about some board members that would like to go with us, and if you could send me some names. I'm thinking of sometime in maybe the 3rd or 4th week of October. So be thinking about, you know, if that's a tour that you'd want to take, and then let me know.
Is that something you're looking at doing, just what other schools are doing, or are we going to be going and looking at what workplaces are moving to?
We'll be having those conversations for sure. I would like to also invite some of our partners, probably Detroit Diesel, Roush Industries, Manic Chevrolet. So I think that they would probably join us, or at least we would invite them to join us to talk about, you know, what would they like to see in terms of their future employees, you know, as future community members. And so I think that they would be invited along too.
Because I know, like, where I'm working, we're going to open space, where you might have a table with 6 computers that you bring your laptop, well, 6 docking stations. You bring your laptop in, slap it down, and you're working.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Everybody might be working on something different. And, you know, the phones are now going through the computers rather than through your cell phones.
Right.
You know, it's kind of very interesting. You know, I haven't worked in one of those environments. I'm still in the cube, you know, but it seems interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. We, you know, and you'll see, you've heard our, I think I saw Tanya in here earlier. Did I see Tanya? No. Tanya Hubbard? No. Thought I saw her in here earlier. When you look at her media centers, you know, they've already done that. They've moved a lot of that older furniture out, and they've moved in spaces where people can collaborate. You know, tables that you can actually write on, those kinds of things. So we're already getting our foot into it. You know, when we did Next Generation Classrooms, you saw a lot of that. You know, a lot of the flexible seating and those kinds of things. And so I really think we need to do 2 things. We need to think about what the future is and what it's going to be. You know, what is big data? Big data is running your life whether you like it or not. And you can try to get off the grid and you can say, I'm not going to be tuned in. Your life is being run by big data. And, you know, so what does that mean? You know, what does it mean to our kids? What does it mean to their lives in the future? Those are all things that we're going to be talking about as a board. I know that we're going to do sticking points to be our next book study. So I'd like to move through that. We'll talk about that probably at our next board meeting. And then the next book I'd like to do and get into it relatively quickly after that book is something on the 4th Industrial Revolution. What does it mean, you know, that robots are designing themselves? You know, and we're not talking about Skytech in Terminator. They truly are. They're you know, that's what our kids are going to be working in those types of environments. And we have to be ready for all that.
Just, I guess, a caution. My son, Tim, works in a very progressive business, and they went to the open spaces, and now they're reverting from that because they're finding that productivity is actually decreased unless it's a collaborative project that they need that space. When it's individual working, they're finding that it's less productive, and so they're moving away from that. So I guess just a caution in terms of that cyclical nature where we're all in on this and then we're all in on that. And I know you're fully aware of that, but just a caution.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think we go into this with a very much open mind and clean slate.
Yeah.
I did. You allowed me to attend that national conference in Portland for. It was actually for tech directors, and so it was a great conference. I learned so much, and then at the end they had this tour of schools. And Portland had just passed this huge bond issue. They did all this work. They couldn't wait to show off their schools, and I was excited. You know, it was at the end of the conference. It was like the day you go home or whatever. And we got on the buses and we headed to these schools. I walked away thinking, I do not want to be this district. They planned for a year ago. So when the last nail was driven, you know, they had these collaborative spaces and stuff, but they didn't talk about what they wanted to do with them. As a matter of fact, this one principal at the high school said, yeah, this was supposed to be a collaborative space, but it doesn't work because kids, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So we don't do it. We took all the stuff away. And this is what they were telling me. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But I don't think they looked far enough in the future. So if let's say we went after a bond 2 years from now, because it takes a while. It's not something you do easily. When you get those dollars, you know, the first nail is going to be driven probably sometime in let's see, 2022. If it's 3 years, you know, to complete the projects. So you're starting at 2025.
Sure.
You know, so you need to be thinking about 2034. You know. And if you're following NASA, they're talking about having a man on Mars or a woman on Mars in 2034. So, you know, that's the district I want to be. I want to be that district that thinks when we're done, it's, you know, we've planned and created something for 10 years from now, not a year. I went in there and I was in their elementary schools. Every one of their students was on a computer and a headphone. There was zero collaboration. So it's everything that we had heard about years ago, you know, and that's what they had planned for. So I think we need to go into it with being prepared, doing some research, starting with a book study, and working with obviously architects and people that are out there in that business, and doing some visits. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some investment, you know, in terms of, you know, time to go out and see some of these different places. And you know, we'll probably see some places we don't want to be, right? But I think in the long run that will serve us well.
Yeah, because I know even in our cubes we collaborate. Not everybody knows everything, so.
For sure.
Brain groups, you know. Okay, are we doing recess now?
We are doing this.
Okay, we're before, oops, go ahead, Steve. Oh, okay,
You know what? I'm sorry, Madam President, I did have one more thing.
okay.
It's fast. I'm going to read it so I don't talk.
Uh-huh.
I do have a
That's what I'm
recognition of a school. So Fisher Elementary School would like to thank the employees of Roush Industries for their Fill the Fisher Bus campaign for back to school. Fisher School and families were able to benefit from dozens of backpacks, markers, crayons, folders, and other school supplies. Items were shared at popsicles in the playground, open house, and will be enjoyed throughout the year. Thank you from Fisher Elementary School to this wonderful community partner.
That's awesome.
All right. Okay, so was that communications?
That was
or-
communications.
Okay, so 6 is now off the table.
Yes.
Okay, before we call our recess and go on our tour, if you're going to want to make an audience comment, there are cards out on that table that need to be completed and turned in to our secretary. Also, if you have cell phones, please turn them off or silence them. Yes.
Cheryl and I went to popsicles on the playground to all of our elementary schools, and it was fantastic. And there were so many students. We were just shocked.
Anyone else have anything for communications? Okay, that all being said, we will recess at 6:58 and return after we do our tour of the cafe.
So, Madam President, would you like me to explain to you what I have laid out for you?
Yes,
Sample? When the students come down the hallway, you know it's one long hallway as we come down. When the students come in the first doorway and they come through the first line, that's where we have our hot sandwiches and our pizza line. They can proceed around the corner and go into the center line. That's where we make sandwiches to order, like a deli line. They proceed to all the way down the hall. What used to be our pizza and hot sandwich line is now our Mexican line. And if they come around the corner and they come into this line, the line 3, that's where we have our chicken bowl, everything chicken kind of thing. So that's the line that I have set up for you. I have little samples of yogurt parfaits that we serve on our grab and go line, which is in the far corner over there. And then I just put out some veggies and in our new Coldwell with some ranch dressing that if you'd like. We have some chips that are available. All the things that we offer to the students is what's available for you tonight, along with our coolers open if you'd like a beverage. So if you have any questions about what is served on each line, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Each of those lines is open each day?
Each day, correct. So if you would like to actually walk through them, I'd be happy to open the gates and let you see what they see. Okay. So if you'd like to start on the left side of the stanchions down the center and then come around, that's where the kids enter. And then there's some veggies in there and some parfaits and that sort of thing. So, hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Audience, you're also welcome. It's on the right side of the
a long time.
It's going.
She said a student like we had going when she went to school, video production had a student come in and hand
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Okay, we're returning from recess at 7:32, and anybody that still has food on your plate, that's what we're gonna offer. Next item on our agenda are comments from the audience on topics not related to the agenda. Mr. Baker, do we have any comments?
We have one, Madam President. She's still here, yes. Naya Staples, and our topic is on associate's degree credits, drop-in school rating. Just as a courtesy, it's a 3-minute time limit, and I'll tell you 2.5 minutes, just so you have 30 seconds to wrap up your time, okay?
Okay.
Madam President, where would you like her to stand?
Probably over here so that she can be seen by the camera. Hey, the rest of us got it. Get the camera off too, you know?
They're gonna zoom in on you. Oh, no.
We'll leave it wide angle.
All right, thank you. I can start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. So I know that Livonia has strong ties with Schoolcraft, Dearborn, what's that, Henry Ford has strong ties with Dearborn School. And I was wondering, have you all ever considered partnering with maybe Wayne County or any community college? So perhaps our kids can graduate with associate's degrees while in high school, like some of the other suburban schools. And then my second one was, my kids have been here from kindergarten, started at Jefferson. I have a 10th grader here and an 8th grader at Pierce. And each year I notice that the school rating on greatschools.org continues to drop. So that's a concern of mine, and what are you all doing about that?
Typically, we don't necessarily respond at this part of the meeting. But if you would give me your best contact number, I would be happy to contact you and have an in-depth conversation about it.
Okay.
So thank you. I appreciate those concerns.
Madam President, I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Gullis. That's her contact information. Now, if I might, just from a personal standpoint, all 3 of my kids dual enrolled while they were here at Thurston, so they got college credit because they had maxed out on what we had offered as a district to them. And so they transferred those credits to their colleges, and it was a huge help to them. So there are things in place, but Mr. Gullis can walk that through with you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
That's all, Madam President.
Next item on the agenda is the Plus Delta Plan for Ms. Holt.
Yes. At the last meeting, we had 2 deltas. One, there was a suggestion that the school board should no longer use Nestle water because they take water from the Great Lakes, and the board agreed that that brand of water will no longer be offered at the meetings. Also, the superintendent evaluation was during that meeting, and it started late in the evening, and so that was the delta that was noted, and the board will resume scheduling special meetings for the evaluation of the superintendent to make sure that there's time for that.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to move the agenda?
Madam President, I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution, please.
Is there support?
Support.
The movement of the resolution by Mrs. Fleischer, support by Mrs. Tolliver. Is there any questions, comments, concerns regarding the consent agenda resolution? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider the Board of Education Orientation and Operations Manual. Mrs. Fleischer, you are the chair of that committee.
Thank you, Madam President. At our last board meeting, we presented suggested changes, and we had a really good conversation. And I think we captured it all. And did you guys all have a chance to look over the final copy? Is it suitable to the board? Then I would like to adopt the following resolution to accept the changes.
Do we have, were you intending to move it?
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Fleischer's moved the resolution. Do we have support?
Support.
Okay, Mrs. Fleischer removed the resolution. Ms. Early supported the resolution. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns regarding the resolution? Mr. Baker.
Just gratitude to that committee for working hard on it, and I felt like it was a good collaborative conversation last time, and I have no concerns.
Any other questions, concerns? Mrs. Townsend?
I just want to thank Mrs.
Absolutely, she has led us well in that for the last several years. Okay, there being no additional questions or concerns, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is to consider board policy updates. Mrs. Fleischer?
Again, just like our orientation manual, the board had really good in-depth discussion, and we went through it all. I think we captured everything. I want to thank Mr. Baker for his wordsmithing. He's so good and beneficial once it gets through our committee to catch those little things that are so time consuming. So thank you, Steve, for your input. And I think everybody is in agreement. I would hope. I'd like to move the resolution to accept it.
Okay, we have movement of the resolution by Mrs. Fleischer, support by Mrs. Tolliver. Questions, comments, concerns regarding the resolution? Mr. Baker.
I had one question last time, and Mr. Valdez and his staff did some good work in finding a resolution for that. It basically involves the state statutory limit for when things are sent out for construction, renovation, that kind of thing. It's quite honestly, a poorly written law, but the gist of it is that in 2009, there was a $20,950 state statutory limit, and it hasn't been updated, but the law is very clear on how it is figured on an annual basis, and it goes backwards, and it goes forwards, and it just, anyways. I'm satisfied that the brains in Lansing were absent that day, but it is what it is, and so we will leave it as it is.
Pretty sure that's it. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding the policy updates? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider superintendent evaluation. I believe this one is mine.
It is.
It is. At the board meeting on August 26, 2019, the Board of Education evaluated the performance of the superintendent using the Jim Shipley and Associates Systems Check Level 3 for superintendents. The System Check Level 3 for superintendents is an evaluation instrument that allows the board to rate the superintendent on process in 7 different categories, including leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, measurement, analysis, knowledge management, workforce focus, process management, and results. The district student growth is also required as a consideration in the evaluation. The evaluation has been completed and attached is a resolution for consideration. Do I have a member of the board willing to move the resolution? Thank you, Ms. Kangas. Do we have support?
Support from Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. We have movement of the resolution by Ms. Kangas and support by Mr. Baker. Questions, comments, concerns regarding the resolution? Mr. Baker.
Just a kudos, some of you weren't involved in the evaluation because it was a closed session at Mr. Galda's request, which is his right to do. But I want to just kind of open up behind the scenes a little bit and help you all to understand that Mr. Galda's also does a 360 kind of evaluation in that process where he asks his direct reports to evaluate him and to provide that to us as a board so that there's some transparency in that. And so I appreciate that, Mr. Galda's. That speaks a lot to your not only confidence level and rightly placed, but also the transparency of having others evaluate you who are your subordinates. And so kudos to that, and you're leading as well.
Madam President? Mr. Leffer?
Would it be possible to request that our secretary just read the second paragraph of the resolution to let the public know how we rated our superintendent?
Okay, I was going to make that announcement, but go ahead, Mr. Secretary. Please read.
All right. So the first paragraph is basically what the system was that we used, and it's the same system that we've used annually, and we use that throughout the entire district. Here's the paragraph that Mrs. Fleischer is addressing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby concurs with and submits for record the rating of advanced in the evaluation of the superintendent of schools, and this rating is deemed satisfactory to the Board of Education. Madam President, it should also be noted that for those who aren't familiar with this process, that there are 4 options, not yet, progressing, proficient, and advanced, and he scored on the advanced from us as a board.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Galdas and Madam President, we will sign that at the end of our meeting, all right?
Sounds good. Number 13, board goals. I'm guessing this is still mine.
Still yours.
The board will review last year's goals and mission statement and set goals for the 2019-2020 school year. I know it's on page 66 in our. There are goals set across the, all across the district, different schools, each elementary, each middle school and the high school all have goals. And they all go toward our overall strategic plan for the district. The Board of Education also has goals that we work toward our strategic plan. Our first goal was through continuous learning, the board will achieve a level 1 certification from the Michigan Association of School Boards in 2018. Goal 2 was the board would provide financial resources and encouragement to the administration and staff to pursue and elevate innovation throughout the district. The board will lead in developing relationships with stakeholders by means of forum, written communication, public invitation to board meetings and workshops. I think we probably met 1 out of 3 in this year. Do we want to change, reword any of the goals, and do we want to keep them, the 2 that we did not meet? Do we want to add a 3rd one?
Madam President?
Ms. Fleischer?
My thoughts were, I think we met 2 very well, and we'll continue to meet 2 as a board. I would like to see us commit to 1 and 3 again, and just focus on those 2 big goals and see them to fruition, and not add anything new, because we seem to be struggling a little bit to meet those goals, and I think it's very important, both of those goals, that we do meet them.
I would agree. I do believe it was 2 that we did. And this is a perfect example of that. Does anybody else have, Mr. Baker?
My one question on number 2 is, how do we evaluate innovation? That is the one that I think we encourage it. I don't know that we evaluate it.
Well, when we're having discussions about them, isn't that a type of evaluation? And when we come back and talk about how well things went, versus where we're going, I think we are evaluating. So,
Anybody else have thoughts?
I'd just like to express that we can all get level 1 on internet.
We do that.
In the privacy of your home.
On your own time schedule.
Exactly.
Madam President, I would like you to strongly consider keeping 2 or a version of 2. Mr. Baker, we're talking about innovation and evaluating that. As I talked a little bit at length earlier, in terms of the future of the district, it's going to be all about innovation. And so I think by keeping that on our radar and keeping that as a board goal helps keep us focused on where we need to go. So we'll be talking a lot about innovation.
No, I agree that we need to. I was more questioning whether we're actually evaluating. That was my point.
Good. I agree.
I don't know.
Madam President, I think we have to keep, if we keep number 1 as a goal, which I think the majority of us want to, and we know 2018 is long past, our credits to achieve that award end on December 31st. So if we have not met those goals by December 31st of a given year, the awards are presented in April.
We would have to say 19 in this for your
It would have to be 19, and you push, I don't know where the other board members are, I know Jan gave everybody the thing if they could reasonably do it to qualify for April, or it would take us out to 2020 as the deadline to complete that goal, because that's the way the MASB is set up.
Right, and we have to achieve it by December of 19. I would like to leave it, even if we have to change it every year by increasing the year. I don't really kind of want to push it out
just go to
Back up.
2019.
Yes,
It
yes.
puts a little pressure on the board members that have not achieved that level to get it done in the next 3 months.
Right, and then if we have to bring it back again, we move it to 2020.
Okay?
I
Just-
agree.
Yeah, I thought the board should know there is a time constraint,
Right.
you know, for us to meet that.
Yeah, I would have no problem keeping all three because as Brian communicated earlier, and again, you know, we're got to be looking forward. And so I wouldn't really think we need to change any of our goals, just update them for the year.
And I guess my question would be, when was kind of the time marker you and Brian had put on to host that awards dinner and host it here? Because it would be nice to coordinate the hosting if we could achieve the goal at the
That
same
is
time.
2020.
So that would
That would
be
be
later.
April.
Yes,
Yeah.
April of 2020.
You say 20 or 2021?
20.
That would be next year, next April?
Yes,
April.
because the
what-
question was originally, could we host it this year?
And then
You
so
said
it's
you
the
wanted to
20th.
wait 1 year, instead of 2020.
If it put it at 2020 and our board members met our goal, we could receive the award in our own facility and host the meeting at the same time, which to me makes it extra special.
That would be great.
And I think that would put the goal as an important perspective with the whole board as a whole to achieve that goal. Just knowing that we are hosting, and it's really nice to receive that award in our own venue.
And we could put it up in our board.
That would be awesome. We just have to be really
That would be
next
the-
Jan this year.
That would be the first in this district if we make that.
Because I'm agreeing to it, knowing that for Jan.
Knowing that she's gonna do the
She's gonna
work,
do it,
yes.
right?
Well, okay, I believe it's Paula. Karen. Well, also.
Well, Karen, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, right?
Where would we be doing it?
In the cafeteria.
In the
Right
cafeteria.
on that side over there? For how many are we talking?
Actually, on this side, Kathy. We won't use that side at all.
So how many people are we talking?
Usually about 75 to 100.
Okay. In April, you said?
Yep, April of 2020. So you got a little bit of notice.
It's in the evening.
Better than we usually do.
All right.
Is that our typical board?
No.
No, it's a special. Remember, Karen, we posted it in the.
Right. We might be having an audit at that period.
Well, they can just wait.
We don't want to advertise that you're having the board meeting on this side of the building, this side of the cafeteria.
Can't
Oh, we have to do it on that side.
On that side.
Keep them on that side.
Long story.
Which means you, is that the meeting coming up, tell them that you volunteered your district to host it.
Yes.
Well, I already told
I
them.
think you already did.
Yeah, 2020. You wanted it in 19. I said, no, Sue said next year.
Madam President. Karen?
Yes.
You did a great job the last time, so you're going to be a whole pro at it.
Are you planning on the same menu? Are you planning on the same menu?
Yes, that would be great.
We've heard so many raves about the
Yes.
food you served, the way it was served, everything, so.
All right.
It was a whole lot better than a particular neighbor of ours.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
All right. I will start planning now.
All right.
Madam President, we didn't talk about the mission statement. It's at the top of our agenda as well.
Mr. Baker, would you like to read that?
Sure. Board of Education will create policies and provide governance to the district that will facilitate learning through innovative opportunities and strong relationships.
Okay, so we've decided we're going to keep 1, 2, and 3. And focus on 1
Right.
and 3.
We focused on 1, 2, and 3.
Well, our major focus has to be on 1.
Right. We only got a couple of months.
Yeah, but we can't lose sight of 2 because our superintendent has a very aggressive schedule for us.
Okay.
That's
moving on.
Yes,
Are we keeping our mission statement as is? So I guess that's my question.
Michigan, yeah. We don't change the mission.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
That's our
don't.
mission.
That's our
Oh.
mission statement.
Okay, well, that wasn't on the agenda.
We updated it before, we just,
Oh, and mission. Well, I guess if I read the first part. Okay, are there any changes that need to be made to the mission statement then?
Madam President, I think we should keep our mission statement.
I agree with Mrs. Tolliver.
Anyone else? Agree, disagree? Or the Michigan statement, well, mission statement, not Michigan statement, can stand as is also. Next item on the agenda is to discuss the MASB Annual Fall Conference. Are you taking this or?
Yeah, that's yours also.
Oh, that's mine also.
Yes, it is.
Right. I'm gonna go back up to the top. Okay. While I'm finding my spot in here. Okay, the school board will discuss members' attendance at the Michigan Association of School Boards, MASB, for the 2019 Annual Leadership Conference Exhibit Show, which will take place Friday, November 8th through Monday, November 11th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme, Michigan. A reduced early registration rate will be available through September 20th. The board will also discuss having a certified voting delegate in attendance at the delegate assembly, which takes place on Friday, November 8th at 5:30 p.m. All school members are invited to attend the delegate assembly. At the delegate assembly, MASB members meet to consider, debate, adopt resolutions, which are the driving force behind the various positions taken by MASB on issues affecting public education in Michigan schools. While only delegates or their alternatives certified in advance by the board may offer motions and vote, any school board trustee may speak on an issue and participate in the debate. The delegate assembly is made up of at least one voting delegate from each school district in the state. If the district desires to send a delegate, the delegate and the alternate must be certified by Friday, October 11th. So my first question then would be, who is planning on attending the fall conference?
Madam President,
Mrs. Tolliver?
yes.
Okay, anyone else absolutely planning? I will have to look at my schedule.
Yeah, okay.
Cheryl?
right now, no.
Nisha, you consider? Okay, so definitely Shirley is going, and Nicole and I need to look at our schedules.
And I'll actually look at mine depending on work.
Yeah.
Make sure you talk to Jan so that she gets you signed up, and also she'll make arrangements with you for the hotel.
Yeah. And Nicole, we need to make our decision before the 29th so we get that less expensive rate. Steve, I know it'll be a little bit different for you because your work stuff changes.
Right.
Okay, next item on the agenda is comments for audience on topics. What?
Will we come back then and certify the delegate
Yes.
at our next meeting?
Yes.
Depending on who the attendance is? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience on topics related to the agenda. Mr. Baker, do we have any comments?
Madam President, I'm delighted to see this audience that stuck with us, but nobody has chosen to speak.
Madam President?
Oh.
I have a comment. I need to stand.
Yes, please.
So regarding the plan of improvement, my question to the board would be, I noticed that looking at our children's test scores, our scores are fluctuating up and down throughout the year, but I also noticed that we don't offer tutoring services at the school. I know at high school you have your honor society for middle school and high school, but especially the elementaries, because it starts at the elementary level. And you have the problems, and if they're not addressed, then they become problems in high school. So for me as a parent, I did notice, and I put a suggestion out there to our elementary school. We are looking into it, but as a board overall, as an improvement for our schools, period, is looking at a tutoring service for our students to help improve test scores And also testing abilities, because a lot of times it's not basically that the kid doesn't have the knowledge. It just, people get test anxiety or just knowing how to test well, because we do a certain thing in the classroom, but when it comes time to the test, it's a little different. That's it. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yes,
you didn't fill out a card?
I did. It's there. I
Oh,
did it
you
later.
got it up there?
I did.
Is your contact information on there?
It is.
Okay.
I'll contact you and have a in-depth conversation about it.
Okay.
Madam President, I know we don't typically do this, but I might ask to make a comment. I've heard tonight a little bit about some test scores, and I can talk a very long time about test scores, but I'm not going to tonight. But I'd be happy to anybody who would like to sit down with me and would like to do that. There's two. Thank you. These are. There are two types of scores that we look at that are important to us. Certainly, proficiency scores are the scores that you see in the papers, and those are scores that are either a student passes or fails, and then you get that percentage. Then there's growth scores, and you've been following education. There's a lot of emphasis placed on growth scores now, and for all the right reasons. As a matter of fact, the state of Michigan, when they do although they don't put those scores out there, they only put their proficiency scores. So growth scores are the measure of a child from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, right? So you measure how far they've grown that year. That really makes more sense to track that kind of scoring, for that kind of testing. And the state of Michigan has played around with all different kinds of report cards, and if you follow it, you know what I'm talking about. The last couple of years, they put out a report card that did colors, and I think the bottom was red and the top was green, and there was a whole bunch of different shades of green and red in between there. And South Redford, although we have a lot of work to do on our proficiency scores, which is what you see in the Detroit News and the Free Press and all that, the state put more emphasis on growth scores, which is what they should be doing. So we have a lot of students that come to us who are 2, 3, 4 grades below grade level. And so if that student is, let's say, they're in 7th grade, they come to us, we measure them in September, and they grow 3 grade levels, but they were 4 grade levels behind. That's a lot of growth. That's something that you celebrate, right? You don't get the proficiency score for that. So when they did the report card, they weighted the growth scores, as they should, have more heavily. And we outscored Dearborn, Detroit, Dearborn Heights, Southfield, Redford Union, and Livonia. We were the only one in this area to get a second from the top, which I think was Lime Green. Only district in this area to get that score. And that's because our growth scores were so strong. And, I guess it's a hard thing to be able to measure and explain, and maybe they just want to put out the simple stuff. And that's why when I sometimes see some of these agencies that will want to rate schools, like grade schools and those kinds of things, you just don't know what they're looking at. And I will bet you $100, if I was a betting man, that they don't look at those scores, because it's not an easy thing to look at. It's complicated. And I'm telling you, educating a child is complicated. And so I'm really proud of those growth scores. Our teachers work really, really hard to get those scores. And I'm super proud of our kids because they work really hard to grow. And you can talk to those kids if you walk into a classroom and ask them, and they can talk about those things. And that's the culture that we built here. Doesn't mean we take our eye off proficiency scores. You have to. We want the kids to pass those tests and all those things that you spoke about. We have put a lot of emphasis in reading these last 2 years. We have a new program called Success for All. And it's comprehensive. It's very difficult. It's not difficult necessarily on the kids, but there's a lot of work that goes into administering it to the kids, the whole program. And we're seeing some great results from that, particularly in growth. As a matter of fact, in our proficiency scores, and again, this is not something you see because they just throw the score out there. We way outscored the state in terms of growth at most of the different levels. I think the state averaged 1 or 2% growth in some areas. In some areas, we experienced 20, 30, 40% growth in some grade levels in some areas. And so, and again, I'd be happy to sit down with you and look at all that kind of data and stuff like that. But those are the kinds of things when they try to make something simple so that they can put it in an article this big, they don't really capture the whole picture. And it's really kind of a shame. And I can go on longer, I won't. But I will call you, and we can have that conversation. And anybody else who's interested, please call my office, and I'll take as much time as you want to sit down and have an in-depth conversation about this. So.
Thank you, Mr. Walters.
You're welcome.
Next item on our agenda is our Plus Delta and Board Communications. Mrs. Hallberg.
Okay, so for the meeting tonight over at Thurston's Cafeteria, what processes helped with the meeting, helped us to do well? What questions do we have?
I have one. The soundproofing is working.
Yeah.
I mean, you used to try and hold a meeting in here and it just acted really bad all around. It's been very easy to hear people speak and each other speak, and it's been really nice.
It is very calming in here. And of course, we always have to thank Jan for doing everything that she does for us to make our meetings run smooth.
Any other pluses? Are there any deltas, things that we can improve for next time?
I'm not seeing any.
I don't see any either.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody come up with anything, so.
Okay, no deltas.
Are there any board just overall comments? Okay. There being none, I declare this meeting adjourned. Is that 8? 8:08.
All right, Mr. Judy, thank you for hosting us.
Great seeing you.
Have a good evening.
Your mom and I were talking about I ate lunch. This is the head nachos. You get your quality time.
Go home.
Hey, I'll shut the lights off.
I don't know about the lights situation.
It's a good question. See if Eric can throw some kids up there. She's got video production. She's got media production as well. I don't know either. That's before my time. Are you enjoying sure. Yeah, when you're It's been a long time. All right, team. Yeah, I gotta get back here. They won't be here when they open up. I'm gonna boogie out and take this back and go. That's great. I'll see you guys next time.
I like
Come back with the kids here.
I do get more resolution.
Well, it's just another way to reach out. Yep. There you go. I'm going to try to do them on Friday. So that's the goal. That's the goal. Now we have lots of fun too. Yep. They're ours. Get a lot of fun. For James Godfrey. Right. Yep, that's right. That's right. That's right. It's great to see you.
Oh, yeah. How that turns out. I will. Do I take this all back? I wonder. I mean, I can.
You too? I think so. Do you need help?
So I put everything in that bin over there, so I can throw this stuff in there.
Well, do you want me to carry the bin over? I don't know that those, they go down still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this will all. I think it'll all fit.
You want me to carry the bin?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
This. What?
She'll do the ball.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. I All right, Jason, I'll walk with you. We shall walk together. Can you put this in here?
Yep.
I am learning my new job. I have very important jobs.
That camera is
Yeah.
tricky. It's almost like too old for me to grab my figuring out how to work it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Because red means it's not on, right?